Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. Hi, I'm Laura Flanders. Politicians and pundits tend to get excited about war, but the U.S.-led strike on Syria of April 14th was more of a show of weakness than of strength, says veteran Middle East correspondent Patrick Cockburn. Patrick, who's written about the Middle East for The Independent of the UK, among other things, and whose latest book is The Age of Jihad, is this week's guest commentator for The Laura Flanders Show. Take a listen.
The thing to bear in mind about these chemical weapons is they're a pretty minimal part of the state arsenal in Syria. I mean, 500,000 people have been killed in Syria since 2011, and a maximum of about 1,900 have been killed by poison gas. So, I mean, this is very bad. I mean, it's awful. But you could abolish the use of chemical weapons in Syria, and it really wouldn't have any significant effect on the level of violence. This was carried out as a show of strength. It was sort of a show of weakness. You know, they could have attacked targets with Russians in them, they didn't. With Iranians, they didn't. With Lebanese Hezbollah, they didn't. The Syrian army, they didn't. Now Assad has basically won. He controls all of Damascus, all of Aleppo, Homs. The major cities are under his control. But yeah, it's a good question. How will this war end? How could it end? And one of the striking features about the present crisis over the attack on the 3 chemical weapons facilities in Syria is there's little talk about how to end the war in general. At the moment, the US backs the Kurds, wants Assad to go, but Assad obviously isn't going to go. Wants it to reduce Iranian influence. How do they do that? They can't do that. Trump, it does create great uncertainty because you have these very bellicose tweets, and then you have, actually a much more moderate, much more cautious policy. And whose policy is it? Is it Trump's, or is it the Pentagon's, or whatever? I think in general that, the media, a lot of the Democrats probably underestimate Trump. I think Trump is a genuine isolationist, not necessarily the people around him. And also he has a sort of instinctive approach to events, and he can see that staying in Iraq, staying in Syria, means serious long-term trouble. Now, this is true. And there are people who will know a lot more about the Middle East than Trump does, but still don't see that. This foreign intervention is continually stirring the pot, and what you never see or hear is people really discussing how to end this war.
That was veteran Middle East correspondent Patrick Cockburn. For video of his comments and more from him and us, check out our website. That's lauraflanders.com. Thanks.